west to east, it's a challenge, right? Because you're coming back later, so it's only one time zone, but it will be a late night getting back. I don't, just make sure. I, I think anytime you introduce money in a locker room, guys are making different amounts. There's going to be issues. I think anytime you start making decisions based upon anything other than production, you're going to have issues. I can tell you, like last year, like one of our more highly paid players didn't play, so it's just it's part of what we have moving forward. If you're in the NFL and you draft it and you're like 50-55%, you're probably going to have a great team. So, but that means that 45% of the time, like the guy doesn't work out the way you thought he was going to work out. It's just it's a crapshoot. And now we're promising big money to kids coming out of high school. You don't know the fit. So, with that being said, I think once the year starts, and this is really what I learned in my time in the NFL. Like, hey, everyone's going to fight for their contract and figure out the team in free agency. But once the season starts, it's got to be about the team. It's got to be about production. And the NIL money is great, but like the guys like Deion Dawkins who played for me have made like $79-80 million in college in pros. So like, yeah, that I hope you make $800,000 in college, but I want you to make 80 million in the pros. And so make sure you're always trying to worry about the next thing. And so I think you have to be transparent about it. You have to be honest about it as best you can. And we hired Pat Stewart as our GM to come in, who's really kind of transformed the way we look at it, which is important because there's so many new elements to it now. I thought Dylan played really well last year. I think anytime you have a guy play for the first time and go to be a sophomore, I think one of the hardest things, as I said in my thing, is like as a young quarterback is handling those adverse moments. The thing I love about Dylan is he always wanted the ball in his hands. He's never like shied away from that. He wants to go be the guy that wants to make the play. Like a lot of guys want to shoot a lot of shots, but they don't want to take the shot at the buzzer. Like who wants to take the shot at the buzzer? And that kid wants to take the shot at the buzzer. I think we have a new coordinator. The quarterback coach is the same. I think he feels very comfortable. I think purely, we got to like -2 last year. We have to be a team this year that leads the conference in not turning the ball over and taking the ball away. And most turnovers come from the quarterback position. So we have to protect for him better. We have to get open better. We have to have the right plays called. And then I think one of the changes you saw as the year went on last year is early in the year trying to make wow plays. Trying to always make a play, and at the end of the year, like taking what it was given to him, checking the ball down. He had some real growth moments. Like we played Iowa, and as Coach Parker is one of the best coaches there is, he kept blitzing the back, and Dylan did a great job of making sure he was always protected, but he never had the back out in the route. And after the game, he was like, Coach, you told me one time that the first step for a quarterback is to make sure that they're protected. And then the second step for a quarterback when they really become a pro is they make sure the line picks up the blitz so they can get the back out and burn the blitz. And as we went into the Boston College game, something that most people won't notice is, he was flipping the protection when he saw the linebacker coming to make sure that he got the back out. And then in the spring, Butler's coming. Butler's the most competitive guy I've ever been around, so he's trying to bring these things at him. And Dylan's like checking and rechecking. So I just think the game within the game, he's doing so well. It'll manifest itself though. It won't be a wow play that ends up on ESPN. It'll be a check down, but he got the back out when people are trying to blitz him and play man. And so I think his command of those things, but his willingness to take the play that's there and not try to make too big of a play, are what will allow us to play championship football. I think it's been a great fit. They've been awesome. They've been great. I think they see each other. They see the game the same way. And one thing about Dana, I'm just going to say it over and over and over again because I think everyone sees Dana and they see like the old wild, what do they call it, the Red Bull, and like this guy's a grinder. He's a worker. Like he's in there all the time. If you don't know, if you're not detailed and you're not executing, you're not going to play. Doesn't care about going back to the question earlier. He doesn't care about how much money you make. He doesn't care about like how many plays you made last week. He cares about your preparation that week. And probably as a fault to me, that's the way I am on defense. And I've probably never been that way on offense because I'm probably more bent the other way. And so having a guy who sees it like me is really, really good. Just like I said earlier, like handling frustration, like part of being a quarterback is like not every play is going to be right, and you're going to get mad at like the receiver when he doesn't win, and you know, you can't as a quarterback you can't have the plays where you turn, you put your head up and do all. And I think the thing you see with him now is like taking that like next play mentality and just kind of being a machine with it, right, and fixing it when it's time to fix it, but you know. Like at the end of the day, like there was kind of a narrative out there last year. Like so some guy made a video and it was all like our receivers aren't getting separation, and that kind of becomes a narrative out there. It's like our receivers are our receivers, and we got to win. So get them open, like throw them open. Dan Marino said there's no defense for a perfect pass when I can throw the perfect pass. And so what I've seen from Dylan is like this spring is like, hey, I got the guys, I got the running backs, I got the tight ends. I need to get them up. We need to spend time together, and this is on me, man. I'm gonna own the result, and so. I think that killer mindset is exactly what we need. Well, they should get rid of the rule that says like, hey, these 10 guys are the only guys who can go out. Like they should get rid of that, right? So you're just so I'm gonna go kill John Butler. I'm gonna make him coach 18 hours, and then he's the only guy who can go on the road when I have all these other people that work for me that could go on the road. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I just think they should say, like, at any one time you could have this many. Again, you go back to the NFL, like, some teams have more scouts than others. That doesn't mean they have an advantage. And so I believe that's something that's been talked about. I think that'd be a fundamental change that would significantly, because the kid's still going to want to meet the position coach. But it's just that sometimes, I mean, this is the first year that, like, I wasn't able to go out and see the kids that we've signed. Like, we've always believed every recruit when they come on an official visit comes to my house. Like they see my dogs, they meet my wife, if they want to, they swim in my swimming pool. And I've always wanted to go to every kid's house that I could. But now the rules are, we can only go out this past year. We could only go out in January. Coaches couldn't see anybody outside of the school. Most of the kids are already enrolled, so it's antiquated. I hope they fix those things. And then just right now, I mean, some teams prepaid their rev share, so. They're sitting on $14 million for the portal. Some teams spent the rev share. They don't have $14 million. So this thing that was supposed to make everything kind of equal hasn't gotten equal yet because it took so long for the House settlement to be approved because we were fighting over roster limits, which again is, was not the hill to die on in my opinion. So I just look forward to the day when the rev share is all equal-ish, as opposed to, hey, you got $30 million and I got 12. You know what I mean? But. In terms of little rules, I'd say those other rules are a great way to improve the game. Before they say that again? Well, I was talking about them just coming in and getting paid. I know there's some schools that are giving big money to high school kids while they're in high school. Someone else is going to have to figure that one out. I mean, that's it's legal-ish now. So until they. At the end of the day, and everyone's trying to find an advantage, right? Until they legislate it, nothing will change. But I mean, they're working on it. I think they're making great progress. I'm sorry, Mitch. So sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Teddy's full. Teddy's good to go. Turner's going to be a while still. Like I know he ran yesterday and felt good, but he's not. He's not there yet. So that will take some time, and that we knew. But on the offensive line, I'm trying to think of anybody else that's a pretty. Was that? Yeah, Gunner's full. Yeah, Gunner's back. Yeah, we're excited about him. He just, I just started learning the system this spring, and so as he, the first step you're trying to learn the offense, and then learn what you do, then you have to learn what everybody else does, then you have to learn what the defense is, and get to the point where the things I was talking about with Dylan start to happen, and so he's not there yet, but he's only been with us for a spring, so I'm looking forward to seeing him what he's done this summer, because so much of the summer is you've done on your own. and then look forward to seeing him in the fall. But tremendous young talent, big arm. Just needs some time. Yeah, I don't feel pressure from anything other than I expect to do certain things, right? So, and I own the responsibility to do it. So, it's not pressure though. It's just like the expectation. It's the standard, right? So, we didn't get to double-digit wins in the first year or the second year because we didn't have a team to do that. But I think we're closer to having that now, and so I expect to be in that conversation. In terms of flipping the rosters and all that, like I think the thing you have to always remember is like good players leave you too. So it's not all just take. It's also you live. So there's a balance to it. But I really like what our staff did coming out of the bowl game. I love what we did in the portal. I love the way we were able to hold on to pretty much everybody in the spring portal. They added this new portal. I know we lost Jaden during that portal. But in terms of guys that were going to play, that were in the 53 as we call it, like we expected to play. We've been able to retain and build. So now I feel very confident that we just have to go play now. I'm sorry. I'll come right back to you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes. The thing I love about Rocco's played at a high level. He's come in and he's bought into what we do. He's been so mature about that. He's been one of the guys, and I'm excited. He's a really good player. He's going to bring stability. And then Pritchett's got a tremendous talent, tremendous ability. Very excited to see him actually play. I think it's also really good for our guys who we haven't had a ton of success yet. They're like, are we good enough or not? When you bring guys in and like you can play with them and like they're the same as you, you're like, hey, I am a good player. And so, make no mistake, we have good players. But those guys really excited to watch what they do this year. Well, I've always, first of all, I have a ton of respect for Scott. And I've always been very empathetic for what he went through because, like, this was his home. Like, if you guys fire me tomorrow, like, I'm just going to go back to Cape May and sit on the beach and go back to where I'm from. But, like, this was his home, right? And so, like, this offseason, we put up a huge picture of Scott as a player in the coach's area because I took a picture and I sent it to Ryan Callahan down there because I can't imagine, like, what that feels like for him, right? I know what it felt like to get run out of Carolina. And I would say to people, like, I don't think I took the right job for me. It wasn't the right fit. That doesn't mean it's a bad. No, I will say this. This was not a good job when I got here. Like, we were behind on NIL. The facilities weren't what they were. Everything was behind. Trev convinced me, like, hey, Matt, this is going to, by the time we get to the point where we're going to be able to pay players, like, this is the only Big Ten school with no debt. We're going to, like this, right now we're talking about 20.5. It's going to go up percentages every year. And we're at a place where we have the best facility in football. We have everything that we could want. We make more of an investment in nutrition than any other team in the country. I mean, look at all of our sports. Look at how they're all blossoming right now because of the investments we're making in nutrition, sports science. Like, there wasn't a sauna in the facility when we first got there. And now you got to pick between a steam room, a sauna, an infrared sauna, your personal sauna. Like, those were investments. Scott came at a time, he had COVID, he had all these different things. So I can't talk about his time. But what I can say was, this wasn't a good job. Yeah, it was not a good job. But we've made it a good job, and we're about to make it a great job. This will be one of the best jobs in the country. And, like, that's why sometimes recruits will say, like, Coach, if you win, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm gonna stay right here. Like, the only thing I ever think about is getting a lake house in one of these lakes in Nebraska I keep hearing about. No one ever invites me to the lake, but, like, it wasn't. But the thing is like, you walk in, and everyone's like, well, that was Scott's fault. In Carolina, said that was Matt's fault. But, like, good programs, like, it's everybody. So, like, why are we going to win now? We're going to win because of Troy. We're going to win because of Tom Peed. We're going to win because of Sean Peed. Like, if the Peeds don't do what they did in 1890 and the investment they made this spring, we're dead. Like, we're dead. Because these other schools, like, they have all of this. And so the investment that Peeds made, the investments we're about to make in this stadium. Now, I don't know what the stadium is, so don't ask me, because I purposely don't know. So when people ask me, I can be like, hey, guys, I have no idea. But I keep hearing about what the stadium's going to be. But Trev articulated it, and what Troy's done is Troy's come in, and he's not been afraid to take heat. He's made decisions that he feels like are right, and that's what makes it a good job. When your leaders are going to make decisions that they think are right, no matter what the public outcry is, then you have a chance to be really, really successful. So think about the job I took. Trev's gone, Admiral Carter's gone, but now I got Jeff Gold, I've got Troy Dannon, I've got Haven Susan, I've got all the things that you could need. So I think Scott was just talking about for him. Wasn't the right fit, and I respect that, and I feel for him, and I want him to always know, like, man, like the things he did at this school, like I want him always to feel like he could come back and has a home there. That being said, it's the right job for me, and Julie knew it. Like she's sitting over there, like she told me the day we interviewed, she's like, that's the right job for you, because I like to go into a place that like needs fixed and try to start. I like starting with like the nutrition program, and like I like starting with the sports science. Like even if there was no sports science really, but I like starting with all that stuff. And like there were 24 ACLs in the 4 years before I got there. There were 49 major knee injuries. There was an old beat up turf field outside. There was a bad grass field outside, and like that costs money to fix. You should see our grass right now. It looks like Augusta out there, like the grass practice fields. And so I just want to make sure I always say, like, everyone can point and say what went wrong. It takes everybody saying, hey, what's my area? Courtney just redoing the whole facility. Haven just making sure we have everything we need. And so I think it's a great job now.
So let me get this straight. You took the job knowing there was challenges. That's why you took it?
Well, I mean, I took it because I believed it had the bones of a great job. You know how sometimes you see like a beautiful mansion and it's got unbelievably good bones? And like I saw that there was 5 national championships. I saw that we had the best fan base in football. I saw that they were building this new facility. Trev convinced me that the money was going to come, but make no mistake, the money wasn't there when Scott was here. The money hasn't even been here the last 3 years, like until the Pete stepped in. Like the money hasn't been what everyone else has, but the Pete stepped in. A bunch of other people stepped in. People all stepped in and said, hey, what can I do? Not what did he do wrong. They said, what can I do? I mean, the impact of COVID on a place like Nebraska, like that Adidas 7-on-7 this year, that huddle event, it changes the perception of Nebraska across the country. People think, I know what we all think, but people, when I recruit kids, they all think it's like a cornfield and a stadium. And then Julie made me fly out here to look at the job. And we're driving down O Street, and she's like, you can't recruit here? You can't recruit here? I mean, she's like almost taunting me, like, we're going through the Haymarket. She's like, this isn't cool enough? But I had to see it. And so, you know, so anyway, I just recognized what I thought it could be with the right investment. But the investment for me is coming on the front end. You know, like this is the first recruiting class I have where they're all seeing the building. For the first 3 years, they were walking around with a construction hat. And like, that might sound cool. That doesn't help. Like we're a couple years behind even on like what I think we could be doing. So that's why you see like, I think we're going to have a great 26 class, but especially 27, 28, because the evidence is here. So, yeah, so it was way far behind. And like that's not disrespectful. That's a real comment. It was a beautiful mansion that just hadn't been painted in a while. There was no landscaping. The shutters were messed up, but I knew we didn't have to dig out the foundation. I knew it had everything it needed. And so, not me. That's so important. Trev first, like Troy, Seth, like all these people, like just fighting to make sure that we have the resources to do everything first class. And there's going to be a day here soon when RevShare is ravaging people's athletic departments, and we have the money to pay the players, and we still have the best nutrition, we still have the best academic services, we still have the best of the best, and that's why we're winning in. That's why we're winning in wrestling. That's why we're winning in softball. That's why we win in baseball. That's why we win in, you know, all these sports, because we have things that other people don't have, and the world's going to change here in a couple of years. We just got to win enough games to get there.
Hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on playing in Kansas City to open the year? How much pressure does it add into a camp when you know you open with the P4? I mean, you had Minnesota as an opener 2 years ago. Just knowing you don't have kind of a tune-up game or so to get ready before you start seeing some real powerful competition.
I think when people ask me, going back to the question, when people ask me about year 3, like the pressure, and me sometimes, like you'll hear me in press conferences, like, hey, like we're being really hard on this guy, like all that goes away. It's time to perform. And so that's what I think we need for camp. We need like urgency. We need intentionality. We need to know that like, hey, we're playing a good team, game 1. What I see is like I walk by the offices and I see Marquise and I see Deshaun, I see Dylan, I see guys in there watching, you know, Cincinnati tape from last year, and so they know. right? They know this is what we need, and so I think it's great that we're playing in Kansas City. Kansas City has been an important area for us in recruiting. We've wanted to unlock that area. You know, so it was a COVID game. So originally the thought was like add another game on the back end, a home game, and I encouraged Trev at the time to make it a neutral site. I wanted either St. Louis or Kansas City. We couldn't get it done. Went to Indianapolis, and then Troy, Haven, all these guys came in. They got it done where we were able to go to Kansas City, and I think it's going to be great. Now, 8 o'clock at night it's a lot for me, an old guy like me, but it lets us start a couple days earlier. It gives us a couple days afterwards to heal. But I think there's going to be no pressure. There's going to be a standard that we have to play at each and every game. We can't have the highs and lows. Like, what have we done in the first couple of years? We've won the games that the non-conference games, the games you're supposed to win. I think now, you've got to play the same way every week, and we can't be this up and down roller coaster that comes from emotion, that comes from us listening to the outside noise. It's got to be, hey, this is our standard. We own the results. That's really the next step in year 3. But I do think it's a cool thing. I know what everyone in Nebraska sees about Nebraska. When we play games like Colorado, when we play games like that at home and they're national games, it's so good for our brand because these kids see it. Like, there's not many environments like Memorial Stadium. There's not many environments like our light show. So having as many night games, having as many things like that, and having the whole country see them, that's what takes this program from good to great. Yeah, I've coached against Lincoln for a long time, and I think the biggest thing is, no matter what kind of quarterback he has, no matter what their skill set is, I coached against him with Baker, I coached against him with the quarterback. Oh my gosh, he's quarterback at Kyler Murray. Thank you, sorry, Kyler. I coached against him with Jalen Hurts, and he just redid his offense. He went from passing game to running game. We played him last year. Obviously, caught him off the bye week. They changed things up, went to Maava. But no matter what, Lincoln's going to find a way to utilize his talent, score points on offense. Obviously, they made a big jump last year in defense. It'll be a great game. They'll be a top 25 team, and we play them later in the year. I hope it's really cold. I hope it's at night, and I hope it's like I said, I hope it's really, really cold. But he's a great coach and he's a good friend. I mean, he's just a great dude. Yeah, I think it's a tremendous competition. I think really across the line, like, we can sit here and say this. I think there's gonna be a lot of competition. We have a lot of guys who played a lot of football. The people. I think you're talking about Tyler Knack. The first day, we'll go out there first, and Gunner might go there as well. Teddy's a guy that can swing on both sides. So I think you have a bunch of guys that have played, and so it's going to be one of those deals. It's going to come down to like day by day, like if we show up, we take a test, like whoever does best on the test probably goes out there first, but it's not going to be an emotional thing. It's going to be like just more consistent, and having good players and having depth, I think, is really, really important. We don't, as even last year, you saw Turner went down. We had to put Gunner in. Gunner played great. Now Gunner's hurt. So just having a bunch of depth, and I think we have a bunch of young players, we feel good about. So, but I think those are the main guys going into it. Yeah, I mean, I think Justin Evans is going to be an all Big Ten caliber center. I think he's fantastic. Obviously we brought Henry here. I think Henry hit his stride in the middle of last year. People forget he was hurt during camp, and I think Henry, he's a guy like the weight room and all that. He's really come into his own. Rocco's played a ton of football. Pritchett's played a ton of football, but I wouldn't sit here and say that he's guaranteed that. I think other guys are going to battle with him. Teddy's played a lot of football too. Turner's coming back. But I think we're always looking for 8, and if we can get 10 that we trust, then we feel great about it. I mean, Gunner's a guy that, he can start at left tackle, he can start at center. Like, that's how good of a football player he is. A year of development. You hurt your shoulder, you're in the weight room or the training room every morning at 6 a.m. It's miserable, but you do develop, and so physically. So I'm excited to see where he's at. Yeah, he better be. They told me he was, but he's full go right now. So I'm sure the doctors will want to be smart with him early in camp. But like Markway's full go, he's full go. So Carter's Carter obviously played receiver last year. We made the transition with him over, and so I think he'll be good. Yeah, I think number one, having that not be a talking point anymore was important. I think the best thing we can do at Nebraska is not talk about anything that happened before today and talk about tomorrow, right? Or today, right? I think that's just the best thing we can do is just move forward in everything, good and bad. So I think getting that out of the way was awesome. I think the experience, though, was really good. Like, we lost some guys to the portal. We lost a couple coaches. Susan will tell you, she was sitting on the sideline at the end of the game, and I think, like, Ty and Nash said to her, this is the most fun we've had in a long time because we know that everybody's here wants to be here. And so I think it was a tremendous bonding experience. It wasn't the traditional bowl. I've had a lot of people say, like, I wish we'd gone. It was great for our team because, like, we were in buses together. We were, we went to the 9/11 memorial and that somber experience. Even though a lot of guys weren't really no one, but like Ty was alive at that point. But having moments like that, I think, really like brought the team together. And it's I've been a coach for a while, assistant. It's the only time I've ever not had a disciplinary incident with a player. Not one player late. And you're talking about New York City. You're talking about, like, Marquise is smiling. He must have been late and tried to hide it, but someone let him off the hook. But so I just think that was a really good experience for our players. And then the practices, to your point, like, and now you can practice with like freshmen. So like TJ Lateef shows up and he starts spinning the ball. This kid's from California. He's throwing the ball like in the snow at Fordham. And I'm like, man, this kid can spin it. Like, he can really spin it. So I thought all of that was really important to us too. Yeah, well, I mean, even with my own kids, I would never encourage anyone to do anything but dream big. The talking part, I'm probably a little different than them. I'm probably a little more like, okay, I acknowledge, yep, yeah, we want to go to the college football playoff, and yeah, we want to win a national championship. How do you do that, though? Like, all right, we'll be great today. So I think this generation and these guys, the place they need me at right now is they need me to be a little bit more brash and a little bit more out front. I'm also going to hold them unbelievably accountable to the day-to-day because the day-to-day has to be great. Like, you guys sometimes see things in the building and it says win. That doesn't mean like win the game. That means for us like win the moment, like win each and every opportunity we have to be great. So, but yeah, I want them to dream big. I mean, I think that's one of the problems we have is like we dream too small. But we went to dinner last night. And you can ask them, like Deshaun said, what am I allowed to say? And what I say to them, I say, you can say whatever you want to say. I don't tell our players what to say. Now, if someone says something really, 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 really idiotic, I might show it to the team and be like, guys, this is idiotic. Okay? But I hope you guys appreciate the fact that, like, there's never been a player off limits since I've been here. Maybe if there's a guy that's, like, in a little bit of trouble, like, but, like, I want them all. I want them all to talk to you guys. I want them all to have media opportunities. I want them to all say what they want to say. The last thing they need is me doing that, and I certainly don't want to kill their dreams. That being said, every team that's here has the goal of going to the Big Ten championship. Every team here has the goal of going to the college football playoff. Every team here wants to win a national championship. So that just tells you that goals are cheap. Talk is cheap. You got to work. I'm a little more brash right now because I've seen the way that they work, and they've worked their tails off. Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I think you think about Coach Franklin and what James has done, like what he took over. Talking about, you probably didn't hear us earlier, but that was a bad job. That was a job that had sanctions, and he's turned it into a great job. And as an alum, I'm grateful. Sometimes I hear people, they take a lot of shots at Coach. What he's done is amazing. He's had consistent winning teams year after year after year, and they were a game away last year. So I'm grateful for Coach Franklin and his staff. I think, I don't know what Pat's done there, but I do know Pat, and I'm sure what Pat does is he comes in, he raises the level of expectation. He removes the excuses. Like, you're here to play for championships. And so, again, if you want to do that, there has to be a certain investment from the university, and I know he makes that investment, and then he expects you to perform. And what I love about Pat is he's, I know if I turn on a Penn State football game, I'm going to see him on the sidelines. Like, player gets tackled out of bounds, he's going to be high-fiving him. If I see him at a wrestling match, he's going to be high-fiving the players. He's a player's AD. I loved my time with him. I once got him a 15-yard. I got him in trouble with the league because I called him out on the field with me when I was arguing with the officials, and he got in a bunch of trouble. But he's one of those guys, man. Like, I know if I say, "Hey, Pat, come here," I know he's gonna be there. And that's we don't have very many friends like that in life, but he's like that for all the guys that are there. So I think it's an unprecedented time in terms of the success, playing the Final Fours, playing for national championships at Penn State. And he'd be the first to say it's all these other people, but he's certainly a huge part of it. He's done that everywhere he's been.
I have one over here.
Oh, here we go.
I know you're tired of answering questions about the past. However, I'm sure me and a lot of people are wondering what was going through your head when you were on the back of that pool on your
Yeah. So, first of all, I just kept looking to see if because no one told me if the bull was going to go to the bathroom in the weight room or not. Like I had no idea what I was going to step down into. But I just didn't. People were watching. There were cameras watching. I just didn't want to fall, and I just didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to be a meme. I've been a meme too many times in my life, and I just did not want to be a meme. But the things we do for recruits. Do we get any of those kids? I think we got a couple of them. Okay, good. It worked. That's the new Coach Rhule. Trendy and fun. Troy Vincent. That was all people give. No, Troy Vincent was. We had our first official visit, and he was like, "You know what? We need to lean more into like that. We're in Nebraska. Like he was like agriculture. He like children of the corn, Grim Reaper. Like so, we brought the John Deere tractor. That was a $900,000 John Deere tractor that I jumped off of. And then the next week, he's like, I'm out. He goes, "Coach, if I bring a bull into the weight," and he caught me like in a moment where I was like, "What?" He's like, "What if I bring a bull in the weight room?" I was like, "If it's okay with whatever." And I showed up on Saturday, and we had a bull in the weight room, or Friday. So I thought it's what needed to be done. Thank you, guys. Good to see everybody.
I mean, I'll give you my take. The cross stuff was, I'll write that. Yeah, you're right. I thought the right tackle. And I think what you lead with is he blurted it out. Yeah, I'd say the headline is, yeah, I'd say Knack leads away at right tackle. Sean, I think the headline is Knack leads away at right tackle.
And then I'll tag on like other old lines and
Yeah.
Avery Oates. I got him here.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to go right to Frost.